Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Grid Talk podcast. We're here to talk about the preview for the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Grid Talk podcast. It has been, a whole 2 minutes since we talked about Adrian Newey. And now we're going to talk about the Azerbaijan Grand Prix that's coming up this weekend. And as always on our show, it's Wajid. Here he is. Hope you're all well. I won't ask how well you are because I asked that like 2 seconds ago.
I'm well. Thank you for asking. How are you?
Nothing's changed in the last couple of minutes, has it?
I hope not.
Anyway. The Azerbaijan Grand Prix. We'll obviously just jump into the news for the start of this show. So, obviously, Adrian Newey gone to Aston Martin. If you want to hear all about that, we have just finished a video. I will link it somewhere on this page once this video has uploaded to YouTube. And then you can head across and see our views on what it means for Formula One and what it means for Aston Martin as a whole and Adrian Newey himself. Apart from that, there hasn't been a huge amount of news. News has just come out this morning, actually, from Honda and Alpine in procedural breach of the F1 cost cap. So this is quite similar to not Aston Martin and Red Bull. This was similar to Williams
when they failed to hand in their papers.
Yeah. So probably just a fine there for the companies. To be honest, Alpine don't really care because this is on the. I will reveal this isn't on the team side of things. This is on the engine side of things.
Yeah,
Alpine are getting rid of their engines. They don't care. Honda, obviously, moving on to Aston Martin. There's probably just been a bit late with the email. That's probably all. So I don't think we really need to concern ourselves with that news because
not just yet.
Fine.
Not just yet, but I'll be honest, if that Honda news ends up linking to Red Bull,
yeah, it could kick. It hasn't kicked off because people are still on about Newey on the podcast. Also, David Croft will not be in Baku. So those who aren't fans of David Croft's commentary, it will be Harry Benjamin returning.
I thought as long as it's not Chandok.
No, it's Harry Benjamin coming in with that, who was in Imola. Also,
he was terrible as well. Yeah.
Also in the break,
I'm looking for international. I'm looking for the Portuguese commentary during the F1. So yeah.
Fair enough. In the break, we also had confirmation that McLaren and Mercedes' front wings are within regulations. It was questioned by Ferrari and Red Bull. Ironic. About whether their wings flex too much. Yes, before anybody goes, how can this flex like this? If you're new to Formula One, check back to about 2010 to 2013. How flexy the Red Bull front wing was. If you're a Red Bull fan going, no, this isn't fair, go back to them dominant Vettel years and please check all the times the Red Bull front wing had to be checked. That's all I'll say. And I think that's all Wajid will say. A silence says enough.
I'm not saying anything. I've already annoyed Fernando Alonso fans this morning. I'm not saying.
Yeah, fair enough. And Lance Stroll fans. All two of them.
His parents, I guess.
Yeah. Colapinto will be back in the car again at Williams. There has been rumours which were mistaken about Sites being in the car in Abu Dhabi. That's to do with the pre-season test, everybody, not the final Grand Prix of the season. So that won't be happening. I know a lot of people saw the headline, clickbait headline, and went, "Oh, what's going to happen here?" Finally, Formula One. Well, not finally yet. Actually, Formula One confirms global deal with Lenovo. Yeah, it means
absolutely. Happened. It means absolutely nothing.
two final things. Miami Boss says he could not be more wrong about sprint racing. Yeah, that's because your Grand Prix wasn't that exciting anyway. Enough said about that. And obviously, the first driver since, see if you can get it, first driver to substitute for two teams in one season since.
Just Verstappen.
No, it wasn't just Verstappen. Actually, I almost got this wrong, and I'm actually ashamed that I almost got this wrong. At first, I thought Roberto Moreno, because he ended up in God knows how many cars in one season. But I think he ended up in about 4 cars in 4 different races in a row. But that was back in the early 90s. It's been since Mika Salo in 1999 who replaced.
I wanted to say Mika. I was taking the piss with yours.
He replaced Ricardo Zonta after Brazil.
And then
for 2 races,
and then he replaced Michael after Schumi broke his leg at Silverstone.
Yeah, and the legacy of should have won in Hockenheim because he let Eddie Irvine through
for the world title.
Yeah, so Mika let Eddie through for the world title. No, that didn't come across on radio. That was just Mika knew he had to do it because he was nowhere near anybody else. So. Ollie Behrman will substitute for Kevin Magnussen this weekend in terms of that silly race ban. We've been through that before. We've said it's a bit of a ridiculous point, but it is there and it is going to happen. It's good news for Haas, really, isn't it? You know, you get to try out your driver early.
Don't think so.
Yeah.
I don't think Ollie Behrman. Look, I've sort of had my conversation on the crop of F2 drivers that are coming up next year. Don't think any of them are particularly good enough, and I still fall back on K-Mag shouldn't be banned.
Yeah, I know. I completely agree that K-Mag shouldn't be banned, but I don't think Ollie Behrman is a bad substitute. Let's put it that way.
If he gets blown apart by Nico Hulkenberg with a full weekend, then conversate. Then I will.
Then the conversations will need to be had. But I think let's put it this way: when he first went to Baku ever, he got pole position. This is in F2 where you only get half an hour practice beforehand or something.
Yeah, something like that.
And then you go out in qualifying. He bent his steering to about 30 degrees and took pole position. Now I don't know if that's anything to say about the F2 grid that season. But he was the angle of that steering wheel was not correct, shall we say?
He didn't win though, did he?
You always ask me a question that I don't actually know the answer to.
That's one.
So hang on, Ollie Behrman. Yeah, because they straightened his car out. If they hadn't straightened his car out, he would have won. Always ask me the awkward ones. Wikipedia, thank you. Your legendary website. It's just easier because it's right in front of me. F2, Baku, he won the feature and he won the sprint.
Let's say he did win. Okay,
so he did win. He dominated the weekend pretty much. He took pole position by 12 thousandths of a second from Enzo Fittipaldi. That was the season. Obviously, you had Pourchaire and Vesti going for the title. Actually, it was something I didn't mention on the last podcast. Big news at Aston Martin. Obviously, Adrian Newey going. You'd think everybody would be there, wouldn't you? You know, whether you're Fernando Alonso, whether you're mechanics, whether you're test drivers, you'd be there, wouldn't you?
You'd like to think so, wouldn't you?
Well, I can tell you that during that press conference, Zach Crawford, one of the development drivers for Aston Martin, was on iRacing. Because I raced him. It says everything, doesn't it? Zach obviously racing in F2 this weekend. There's not a huge amount of noise has come out. I think the only one we can really properly discuss on the news side of things is that Sauber still haven't signed somebody, but they have. It seems to be narrowed down to Bottas or Gabriel Bortoleto, which is surprising because Teo Pourchaire turned up in the paddock in Monza Was that a last-ditch attempt for Teo to try and get the seat?
Probably.
And is he?
Probably. No.
I honestly think it'll be Bortoletto now. I think McLaren have given their say.
I think it'll be Bortoletto as well.
Yeah, after his drive at Monza as well. I mean, lucky safety car, but what a drive. 22nd to last. 22nd to last. 22nd to first. 22nd to last would rival somebody like Logan Sargent. Anyway. Baku history. For those who don't know, the Azerbaijan Grand Prix is now hosting its 7th Grand Prix. The first one was back in 2017 as the Azerbaijan Grand Prix, but actually it's held 8, including this weekend, because it's held the 2016 European Grand Prix. Even though Azerbaijan is it European? It's on the border, isn't it?
It's Asia.
It's technically Asia.
There's no technical about it. It is Asia.
But it hosted the European Grand Prix, which, shows as much as when Magny Claus was going to host the British Grand Prix. The 2020 race was cancelled due to COVID. So we've only ever had 7 winners in Baku, even though we've had 8 years of it being on the calendar. 4 wins for Red Bull, 2 for Mercedes in the Azerbaijan Grand Prix, make it 3 for Mercedes. So 2 teams have only ever won there. But we've also only had 1 winner twice. One Mexican, Sergio Perez. Nobody else has ever won the Baku Grand Prix twice. Nico Rosberg took it the debut year as a European. Then Daniel Ricciardo took it in 2017. 2018 was Lewis Hamilton after Bottas's puncture. 2019 was Bottas after not getting a puncture. We obviously had COVID. 2021 was Sergio Perez's dominant year where Max, I think, had to come through the field. And no, 2021 was
2021
Perez
was
Max crashed.
And it was a brake
magic. Yes, yeah. That's right. So Sergio won that one. Max dominated in 2022. And then in 2023, Max was coming through the field. I think he had to qualify a bit further back, didn't he? No, he qualified on the front row, but Sergio did take the...
He qualified second. Sergio went on to win the race. Max couldn't get near him. And this is where, and I think this was Checo had won either one race or 2 races, and there was genuinely there was
a championship.
It was the Can Checo challenge for the world title, which subsequently died the next race.
Yeah, it was in 2022 that we had the Sergio meltdown at Baku.
Yeah, that's correct.
Like halfway through the race, he just kind of disappeared. But yeah, he also won the sprint this weekend. I'm going to test you now. Is it a sprint?
No.
It's not a sprint weekend this weekend.
No.
You sure about that?
Yep.
That's because you got it in front of you, haven't you?
I genuinely, I can send you a picture of what it's you.
I don't want to have a look at the picture of what you're looking at. Thank you very much.
It's you.
Sorry, you walked into that one.
Our next one is, I'm pretty sure the next one's Qatar.
Yes, it is actually just a basic Grand Prix weekend, which is unusual because Azerbaijan was the sprint last year. But then we'd go to, as you say, straight after. I always forget the calendar. It's the one thing I always forget in my head.
We go to Singapore.
Singapore.
And then we got that stupid 3-week winter break from Singapore to Kota.
Yeah, so we have Singapore 1 week later, which is not a sprint, and then first sprint will be at Kota. Right, there we go. So we don't have a sprint this weekend, so it's all on the Grand Prix. As I said, we've had 6 different winners. None of them from, no Ferrari. We've had Ferrari on pole. We've just never had Ferrari win the Grand Prix. Never won a sprint either there, because we've only had 1 sprint. What's your take going into this weekend? Are we looking at a Red Bull struggling again, or are we going to see them back competition with McLaren?
Well, that 2 kilometers straight, 1.5 kilometers straight. If Monza's anything to go by, Red Bull in for a long week. Because that's currently because they couldn't even keep up with Lewis and the Mercedes, and we know that car is not great in a straight line. So if you can't keep up with Lewis and the Merc in Monza, yeah, you got no chance. You got no chance in Baku. This weekend for me is make or break for one British petulant child in the McLaren car. Because he bought. Oh, is he British? Is he?
Well, we sent him over years ago. Yeah. No, carry on. Sorry, Australian fans. We like to insult everybody on this show, so you don't feel left out.
He bottled it again in Monza, and this is the most pathetic title challenge I've ever seen from someone. So he needs to show up this weekend, because I've said it many times. If that's Charles Leclerc in that McLaren, if that's Lewis Hamilton in that McLaren, we are in a totally different scenario. Lando Norris doesn't have the minerals for a world title challenge. That's what I'm saying.
This is interesting to know what could possibly happen in terms of it, because we never actually seen Charles in a title challenge yet. So that's also an interesting thing. We don't know the pressure of a title challenge for himself, but also we know the pressure that we have for our predictions. Yes, Wajid was very good at his predictions last time. So we will straight away move on to these.
I'm back to back, 2 wins in a row.
Yeah, we are, but we're not keeping count this year.
No.
Well, I'll be miles ahead if we were. Qualifying.
I mean, that was your decision. That.
Do you want to take the? Well, I just thought there's no point in keeping count in case we don't actually continue with these podcasts. It's about this time last year that we went a bit quiet.
And we've been consistent all year.
Yeah, we have. Ironic. Qualifying predictions. We'll throw it open to you first.
Cool. So 5th place, I'm going for a certain Mr. Hamilton.
Okay.
In 4th, I'm going Max. In 3rd, I'm going Piastri. In 2nd, I'm going Charlie Leclerc.
Okay.
And in 1st, I'm going a certain Mr. Lando Norris.
Okay. Well, I'm just going to throw this out here. Is he going to leave the first lap?
Lando Norris, no.
Okay. Fair enough. Make it another one. For me, 5th place will be Max Verstappen.
Yep.
4th place will be. Shall we go with Sites?
Interesting.
3rd will be Oscar.
Cool.
2nd will be.
Sorry, excuse me.
2nd will be Lando Norris.
Yep.
With pole position going to Charles Leclerc.
So those are predictions.
That's the race predictions.
Oh, so sorry. Those are our. Thank you. Those are our qualifying predictions. I've not done the race predictions yet.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. If you haven't worked out by now, Wajid types them out while we say them.
Yeah, I do. And I find your top 3 really interesting because that's the same top 3 you went for in Monza. In that order.
And I just and having Sights there, I just think they're so quick at Monza, those 4 cars, that I just can't see anything changing. And Verstappen, let's put it this way, gets the most out of his car in qualifying normally. Maybe not Monza, but he normally does.
He was nowhere in Monza.
I think he will get the advantage in the midsection of Baku over Mercedes. That's what I'm thinking there. But actually, also on the other side of things, going about Max Verstappen and Monza, he was part of a red line stream when Cadwell Park come out at the weekend on iRacing, having a bit of a laugh, said that Monza was a boring race, ironically. And they played the Dutch national anthem, and he goes, I can't remember how this goes. Which is, he's like, I haven't heard this for a while. So at least he can laugh about it away from the pressure of the Grand Prix weekend. But certainly the pressure's on Red Bull now to deliver something. We'll move on to race.
I still think the pressure's on the orange man in the orange car.
Well, we will have, probably not today now because we're running out of time, but we will be doing a podcast on how we think the rest of the season will go. Maybe we'll fit it in that gap if we get that stuck.
I think it's a bit late then.
Okay, well, we'll fit it in at some point. Anyway,
but no
race predictions.
Yeah, you go ahead first.
Okay, so we're talking about Baku here. Remember, everybody. So absolutely nutcase of a season, a race normally. So that means in 5th place, I am going to go for. Don't I? I'm going to go Nico Hulkenberg. No, I'm not. I'm going to go Danny Ricciardo. I'm going to put my trust in Danny Ricciardo. What? In 3rd place. In 4th place.
Okay.
We're going to have Sir Lewis Hamilton.
Okay.
In 3rd place, we're going to have Seitz.
Okay.
In 2nd place, Charles Leclerc. And in 1st place, Lando Norris.
So you have 4 of your top 5 from last week's prediction in Monza are the same. The only thing you have done is changed Alex Albon for Daniel Ricciardo.
Hey, somebody will creep into that top 5. But I will tell you something. You haven't mentioned something else.
Which is what? That Daniel Ricciardo
disappeared.
That Daniel Ricciardo doesn't have a drive next year.
Yeah, but who's disappeared from qualifying?
Max.
No.
Yeah, he has. You got Max finishing 5th. You got Max qualifying.
Yeah, he has disappeared. But who else?
Oh, Piastri.
Yes. I think he'll get desperate in a corner and end up losing like a wing on a wall or something.
So my predictions: I'm going Verstappen in 5th.
Okay.
I'm going Sainz in 4th.
Yeah.
I'm going Sir Lewis in 3rd.
Okay.
I'm going Leclerc
Bottas in 2nd.
No, I'm going Leclerc 2nd.
Okay.
And I'm going Piastri to win.
So where's on yours when you put race results up? I can't remember for all them names. Where does Norris disappear to?
Bottled it.
Yeah, but where does he disappear to? What does he do to drop out of the top 5?
He gets overzealous. Gets overzealous by trying to take the lead into lap 1, and he bins it, but he goes wide in one of the chicanes, and he just ends up going backwards, and then he's fighting back after that.
Okay, interesting.
Unfortunately, we are running slightly out of time because we do have a video which we're going to predict and map out the scoring for the rest of the season. So we'll have the Excel sheet at the side. And
within reason, don't take this sheet down to the bookies put a bet on it,
Yeah,
and then say, "Well, David and Wajid said so."
Hey, please do not. I don't bet anyway, so please definitely don't do that. But I categorically have said there is no world title fight. Mr. Magpie vehemently disagrees because I don't think Lando Norris doesn't have the minerals.
That is.
Yeah, and
anyway.
he can have all the YouTube friends he wants that all kiss his butt to hell and high water. There's no world title fight.
Those are all our predictions. This weekend also on. Do we have F3 on there? Do they go to Baku? No, they're finished, aren't they? Sorry, they are finished.
They're finished in Monza.
That was one hell of a finish as well. But obviously, a huge amount of changes in F2 this weekend. Firstly, moving Ollie Behrman up for Haas for one round, which means Gabriele Mini, who finished second in the F3 Championship for Prema, will move up for one round to teammate of Kimi Antonelli. Oh, it'd be funny if Mini beat Antonelli then, wouldn't it? Just for the story. Or Antonelli pressures himself into a wall. Oh no, do that, Monza. So Ollie Behrman moves to Haas. There's also Christian Mansell will come in from his F3 season where he finished 5th. He will take part in the rest of the season for Trident. So he will go all the way to Abu Dhabi in place of Roman Stanek. Not really a big news story, that one. But there is a kind of news story which a lot of people have jumped on and said sort of, oh, well, why has this happened? Because this makes no sense. Now, I need to get the wording right because I always get these two first names the wrong way round. Zach O'Sullivan, I always call him Luke O'Sullivan. Don't ask me why. Zach O'Sullivan is moving out of F2 due to financial constraints and hasn't got money for the rest of the season. And he will he was a Williams junior. We mentioned him before as why did Williams not take him rather than Colapinto? He was ahead in the points, to be fair. So kind of fair enough. O'Sullivan was 13th in points. A couple of wins which may not have been wins, basically. A lot of safety cars, a lot of, luck in them. But he did win, so great. I think he won the half points race at Silverstone. I'm sure it was half points. Anyway, Luke Browning will come in, who is also Williams Junior from 3rd place in the F3 Championship. Potential there for him coming in alongside Victor Martins, who's not having greatest of seasons. So a really good chance for Browning to show himself there. But a lot of people jumped on the fact that Williams are not paying for Zach O'Sullivan to stay there. I think between the two of us, we can sort of explain that junior partnerships don't quite work like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think the only one that I can think does is Antonelli's because there's no sponsors on the Prema car.
Yeah. And also, I think Antonelli's been a different scenario since he came into the Mercedes sponsorship because of what they saw in him and etc.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're effectively backed by your sponsors. You bring the sponsors with you at the lower formulas anyway. You bring the sponsors with you to stick on the side of the car, and they're the ones that help with your financing and all that. It is only in a junior contract if it's written that they will help subsidize your rise and your drive, that all that stuff sort of happens. Generally speaking, I don't know if that's starting to change in motorsport. Somehow I doubt it, but that's generally how it goes.
Yeah, as a junior driver, let's say Red Bull Junior, for example, let's take Enrique Binaldi, who was originally the first kind of Red Bull Junior, even though he wasn't like Vettel, Verstappen, he wasn't going to be big, but he was the first driver to be sponsored by Red Bull. He came through and he was being paid money by Red Bull to stick Red Bull on the car, but he would pay to the teams. So it's kind of like a sponsorship that comes through a driver. Nowadays, it's more your fitness regimes. Teams Williams will be sitting there going, well, you can use our simulator, you can use our fitness
You
coach,
can use that. You can use our personal trip. Yeah, you can use our.
You can
gym,
use
you
our
can
bus
use our personal
service to
trainer.
get home. Sorry, Logan. It's and let's put it this way. These drivers coming in, just in case you don't know, Luke O'Sullivan, F4 champion in Britain in 2020, GB3. He didn't do many races, but he did finish 4th in the German Formula 4 the next season and won the F4 Cup. He was GB3 champion in 2022. In 2023, he won. He was only 15th in Formula 3, but he won the Macau race, which is a huge thing. And then he finished 3rd. So he's very, he's meant to be aimed at being very, very good. Gabriele Mini, likewise, 3rd in Macau, 7th in F3. His last championship was back in 2020, but Alpine really threw their weight behind him as a junior driver. Gabriele ought to have second plans. We know what Alpine are like with junior drivers. I am upsetting everybody today. Christian Mansell coming in 5th in F3. Not as successful overall. He's done GB3 before where he finished 3rd, but it's not like being loads of champions. But that often happens with Australians when they come across. They've got to get used to the European lifestyle to start off with. So, it's going to be interesting to see how they get on as a group, because as you say, we've been very critical of the F2 grid this season. So if these guys can just jump in the car and perform, they're going to set themselves well for next season, aren't they?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't really have sort of much to add to what you've said. You pretty much hit the nail on the head, and all I'll be doing is repeating what you said, really.
Yeah, so we'll see how it goes, but keep your eye on F2. It's always exciting, especially around Baku. So normally, quite often we get a double winner. We had Behrman, Giovinazzi took a double win there as well. So when he was in F2 against Piastri, of all people, you can see how 2 careers could go completely different directions. Wajid, thank you for joining us again.
Thank you.
That is our Azerbaijan Grand Prix. I keep calling it Baku Grand Prix, which it technically isn't, but everybody knows it as that. We will be back Monday for the review of Azerbaijan. I presume Monday. We haven't checked that, but we're guessing Monday. That's when we normally do our reviews. No shout out on that. Still Monday.
Still Monday.
Still Monday. That's okay. I don't know why I was looking around the corner like you were sitting behind the screen, but we're not in the same room, guys. So yeah, it's been a pleasure. As I say, go have a look at our Aston Martin Adrian Newey video, which is out there now, and you'll be able to see. It hasn't got a thumbnail on. It will do in about half an hour's time when I actually download the thumbnail. And we will see you very, very soon. All right. I'll get them done. I was expecting 3 videos today. And we will see you.
We can still do the 3rd, to be honest.
Yeah, it'll be pushing it.
That's a you thing. I've realized.
I talk forever. Anyway, thank you everybody for joining us. We will see you on Monday. Enjoy the Azerbaijan Grand Prix, and whoever else does a watch along, or God knows what else. And if you really want to know whether Ferrari retired, watch the P1 watch along, because Matt will have his head in his hands. Anyway, we'll see you very soon. Bye.